Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Anarchy Analysis, LCS and LEC Week 1 results and Week 2 predictions video. We've got a lot to cover today because there's 15 matches overall in the LEC and only 10 in the LCS. Super weeks of fun. Let's cover every single match that we can and get on with the show. Our first matchup we're breaking down today is G2 versus Mad. Now for this one we went with G2 over the Mad Lions, feeling that the G2 lineup on day one will come guns blazing for Mad, and well, I wasn't wrong. G2 showed up and beat the Mad Lions here in a very interesting matchup. It was explosive and fun to watch all at the same time. Our second matchup of the week features two teams I predicted to be bottom of the table between Schalke 04 and Team Vitality. Now for this matchup I went with Schalke against the new rookie lineup of Vitality, and well, what we saw was a bit of a shock. The rookies of Vitality beat Schalke here in a very explosive matchup, one that I realistically couldn't predict, because who expects the rookie lineup to beat Schalke, who's got a lot to prove this season. Next up is a match that everyone thought was one-sided, but we were shocked here as SK versus ORIGEN saw SK Gaming beat the team I predicted in ORIGEN in pretty much a very clutch situation. It was very interesting to watch, to say the least. The second to last matchup of the day was XL versus Rogue in a smash hit battle between a team that's made a lot of changes to their roster, bringing in enquires and special, and Rogue, a team that's made 0 changes from spring, looking to bounce back from a pretty poor end of the season. And for this matchup, we went with the team that made the changes in XL over the team in blue, and well, the boys in blue won here, which was not a surprise to me, honestly. I figured Rogue might win this one, but it would have been a close matchup to say the least. Now it's time for our Anarchy Analysis match of the week to run down for you guys. It was Misfits taking on Fnatic, the return of Kobe to the LEC, and well, this matchup actually ended in shock. Misfits were on the brink of winning, but Fnatic were able to bounce back through taking all the dragons and getting Soul, and then stealing Baron to top it off, winning them the game in a pretty clutch situation. Day 2, we start things off with Schalke versus SK. Again, for this one I went with Schalke over SK, having not seen what happened day 1. SK did the double here, winning 2 games this week already, going 2-0, which is a very strong start for this lineup that did pretty poorly in spring. Following that up was a rematch from the spring playoffs first round matchup between Misfits and Rogue. Now for this one, I went with Misfits, hoping that they'd pick up their first win here against Rogue, who I figured may struggle against this team here. And well, let's just say Rogue decimated Misfits here. It was a very interesting matchup, one to watch, that's for sure. A great showing from Rogue here, going 2-0 this week so far, and it was a great showing, to say everything about it. Mad XL then came after. For this we went with Mad over the XL lineup. We predicted the team that finished in 3rd overall to win here, and yeah, there wasn't much shock here. Mad decimated XL. It was a classy game from Mad and a bounce back, to say the least, from day 1. 4th game of the day saw Fnatic taking on Vitality, the team that upset many in predictions on the day 1 in Vitality. Did not upset the team I predicted in Fnatic at all here. Fnatic beat Vitality here It was pretty clean from Fnatic. Overall was very, very good. I enjoyed this performance a lot. Next, we go into the LEC match of the week, which featured ORIGEN and G2 in a matchup that people predicted to be a top 3 placement match between these teams. For this one, we went with the team that won it all last split and the split before in G2, purely because you expect them to do well here, and after day one's performance, you'd expect the same thing to carry through. Well, we got the opposite. We saw ORIGEN pick up the win here, due to what many could consider G2 trolling, throwing it. Some of the picks realistically weren't the best in my opinion, but ORIGEN deserve all the credit for beating this caliber of a team in G2. Week 1, you always should expect the unexpected. This was one of the unexpecteds for me. And the wings kept getting clipped here for SK after picking up a surprise win on day 1, losing to Schalke on day 2. They lost to the team I predicted in MAD on day 3. Again, MAD have stepped up after losing to G2 and are picking up the wins that are expected of them so far. This split, it's good showing from this lineup. I'm surprised not many people have their players in the Super Fantasy League, because the teams I've seen realistically don't feature that many Mad Lions players. But yeah, great performance out of MAD here. Going 2-1 this week is strong. It's a good performance. It puts them towards the top of the table. And let's move into our next matchup. That matchup features Rogue and Schalke here for this matchup. I went with Rogue over Schalke, and yeah, let's just say Schalke won here. It was a very strong prediction for me to go Rogue here. I felt Schalke don't stand that much of a chance, and I was right. Good win here for this lineup. Very, very well executed and very, very strong team, going 3-0, the first team to do so this split. Now, I predicted one upset wrong, but did this upset get predicted by me correctly in Misfits versus ORIGEN? And you'd be right, I did go with Misfits here over ORIGEN, as I felt that the lineup just slightly pipped ORIGEN to the post. And yeah, Misfits won here, very solid performance. The team had a pretty good showing against Fnatic, and then kind of faltered against Rogue, but it was kind of obvious they were going to pick up one win this weekend, and why not against the team that beat G2. Speaking of G2, we take off into probably their easiest matchup of the week coming into it. G2 versus Vitality. Most people expected G2 to win this, and well, let's just say they lost quite heavily to Vitality. More of a stomp this game. Milika got going, did absolute wonders in that mid lane, carrying the team on Jace, I do believe, to an easy win for the Vitality squad. And our last matchup here in the LEC features Fnatic and XL. This one, I expected the upset to come through. XL beating Fnatic. This was the only game I predicted Fnatic to lose, and they didn't lose it. They won all 3 games this weekend. Top place secured alongside Rogue 3-0. Very strong team is Fnatic coming into summer. They're performing well. They've got a good jungle synergy showing so far in the regular split, and I'm actually rooting for Fnatic quite heavily now, even if I am supporting G2 slightly more. We jump across the ocean now to the LCS in a far less explosive weekend in terms of the amount of action we're getting here. Only 10 games to cover here. We'll start with the first, which was 100 Thieves versus Evil Geniuses. This one, I went with EG, the team that did finish second overall, over 100 Thieves, and I'm not surprised that we saw the win here, and I do believe the first perfect game of the split. I don't know if that was today or it was on day 2, who knows. Next up, we have the rematch of the Spring Split Grand Finals, C9 versus FlyQuest. This matchup, you had to go with C9. And well, I did. They won. Nothing much more of it. C9, I do believe, dominated the everlasting life out of FlyQuest here, and it was a great performance out of them. The return of evil geniuses to the stage on day 2 was EG versus CLG. This was the perfect game after realizing what I said. Yeah, EG dominated here against CLG. CLG are getting off to a poor start, like they ended off spring. And oh boy, I'm ready for the slump to begin again. Following that up was the Anarchy Analysis match of the week in the LCS. TSM versus Team Liquid. For this, we went with TSM. And well, this was another stomp by Team Liquid. We've seen quite a few stomps so far in the LCS. They want to get this week over and done with. Boys and girls, they want it done quick. This was like 24 minutes, TSM dead. And yeah, not a good look for the first game for TSM. This was then followed up with IMT versus FlyQuest. A matchup that I felt was realistically even going into it before I found out what IMT's roster was, which actually fucked up quite a few things in terms of my summer predictions. Dropping X-Smithy down to the Academy team and putting Hakuo and Apollo down there as well. You've got 3 of your main starters for the LCS team last year in Academy now. And well, we got what we expected. FlyQuest winning here against IMT. It kind of tells me I'm going to have to predict against IMT quite a lot now due to the weakened roster that they're running. But overall, a good performance out of FlyQuest. The bounce back against C9 from earlier in the week is always a good sign. It means that you're going to see something out of this roster. Our last game on Saturday was Golden Guardians versus Dignitas. This matchup would have been a good prediction to go with Dignitas. The lineup hasn't changed much. They brought in Viper, they brought in Acadian into the starting lineup. You'd expect this team to win. And well, what we end up seeing was a Golden Guardians win here. It was a shock win for me. I did not predict this correctly. I went with Dig overall, thinking that this lineup should win. But nope, they lost to Golden Guardians. And this does open up quite a few predictions in my eyes. Sunday games now, starting with C9 versus 100 Thieves. You could only go one way for this in C9 overall. The strongest team in the league, being challenged closely by Team Liquid now, and possibilities of another team that we'll get to in a minute. This matchup, as I said, we went with C9. C9 decimated 100 Thieves here. They picked them piece by piece and just ate them for dinner. This was a super dominant performance, and why we should fear C9 coming into Worlds. The next matchup features TSM's jungler retirement home, Team Dignitas versus Team Solo Mid. This matchup, I went with TSM. Again, they want to end Sunday quickly. Another stomp came right after a stomp. This matchup was pretty clean by TSM. They did not want to be playing with Dig at all. Dig looking really weak this weekend. They're probably going to have to look for a bounce back week. And TSM don't go 2-0 this week or 0-2. They go 1-1. Are we going to get that trend this split? 1-1 weeks for TSM. Who knows? The second to last matchup now. Team Liquid versus Golden Guardians. This matchup, you could only go to Team Liquid. Golden Guardians, you wouldn't rate as a squad. You'd expect them to lose. Well, they did lose. Team Liquid won. It was a fairly easy prediction overall, and one that I'm glad that I predicted Team Liquid to win, and they're on the bounce back split with Tactical in the bot lane now. And finally, the last matchup of the week. Some would have considered when I made these predictions to be an upset win in CLG versus IMT. I went with CLG here. Both squads, realistically, are quite weak at the moment. And, yeah, CLG won here. It wasn't that big of a win, in my opinion. Well, it's a big win in terms of the fact if you want to challenge for the 8th place. But this was a good win for CLG. Gets them some credit in my actual predictions. And, yeah, good week overall for the LCS. So let's go over the results to week 1 as in terms of our predictions. Overall, we got 7 out of 15 in the LEC, which is just under half, which is okay, I guess, considering it's week 1. You're not expected to get every result correct, and you're not expecting your top teams to win, obviously, especially when G2 haven't practiced as hard as some of the other teams, or OG of dropping games to the teams like SK. They're hard games to predict. As for the LCS, 10 games over there. Believe it or not, we actually scored 8 out of 10, only dropping 2 games, which was TSM TL and Dignitas and Golden Guardians, which overall is a pretty good set of games that we got right. Even the CLG IMT game one, I'm proud that we got right. Anyway, enough of this, let us jump into our week 2 predictions for you guys. This should be interesting, very fun, as there's quite a few games that I need to cover. So let's run down these predictions really quickly. We're starting with Rogue versus Vitality. For this one, I'm going with the team that are on 3 wins already in Rogue. Again, Vitality have picked up upsets over this weekend and are actually performing very well with their new squad. But obviously Rogue are looking on top form and very dominant in their matches, so I've got to go with Rogue. Next up, it's SK versus Misfits. This one, after week 1's performances, I'm unsure of how it could go, honestly. So I've actually gone with the upset SK win. No one expects SK to win. I'm going with SK. I hope they win and prove me right. Next up, both teams had a disappointing week 1 in Schalke and G2. Only one can win this 3rd game of the day. I've gone with G2. Hands down, they're looking to bounce back. They'll probably have practiced all week after a poor week of practice, I guess, in the LEC. So yeah, hopefully a G2 win. OG versus XL next. This matchup, you can't predict because OG have already lost to SK. But I feel OG will win against XL. They usually like to show up against XL and be a bit flashy and destroy this team's hopes. So we've got to go with Team ORIGEN here. Our last game on the Friday is Mad versus Fnatic. A good, honest battle between 2 dominant teams, honestly. Currently, one sitting on 2-1, the other sitting on 3-0. Believe it or not, I've gone with the 2-1 team in Mad over Fnatic here. I just feel every time I see this series, Mad are going to get an upset against Fnatic. And this game is one of those games that you just expect it to come. I feel that Mad, yes, their playstyle is a little bit predictable with the obvious let Omne just farm, he be the bullet sponge for everyone. But in the past few games, we've seen him actually become a carry. So it's going to be interesting to see how Fnatic deal with this adaptability from Mad. Day 2 now. It's XL versus SK, starting us off hot with what could be considered bottom of the table matchup with how the teams are. I've gone with SK here over XL. XL, in my opinion, have just been dropping in form. Like the caliber of player like Patrick and Torre is, even Cadril in the jungle, you'd expect them to be winning these sorts of matches, but they haven't won yet at all this season, and realistically it might be a struggle for them to pick up that first win. Schalke Misfits followed this up in a closely battled out matchup here. two teams that really could win here. But Misfits have had the edge in terms of their performances in week 1. Yes, I know a 3-game sample size isn't the best, but I feel that Misfits should win here against Schalke. Mad and Vitality comes straight after this game. A matchup that could be seen as quite close considering Vitality's form as of late, but for this one, you gotta go with Mad. This team are lions, they're chasing their prey, they're hunting every team below them and destroying them, so we gotta go with this team. They're strong, they're fierce, very hard to beat. Our next matchup that's coming up is kind of a match of irony, I guess. People predicted at the end of week 1 Rogue to be 1-3, and well, they're not. And people predicted G2 to be 3-0 or 2-1. They're not. The other teams, both teams have the opposite records of what they should have. In a sense, Rogue has G2's record, G2 has Rogue's, and this matchup I feel is going to be very, very close, but I feel G2 are going to have proper preparation and are not playing Valorant. I know what you do, Mickey, I've seen it in week 1. So I've gone with G2 here. Overall, the team should realistically win. They're stronger on paper, and it's going to be a very explosive matchup. And our final match for the LEC this week is going to be our Anarchy Analysis match of the week. It's going to be Fnatic taking on ORIGEN. This is going to be a good old-fashioned slugfight between these two teams that I have to go with Fnatic on over the OG, because OG's record is kind of weird at the current state. They're dropping matches to teams they shouldn't be dropping matches to, and winning matches that they shouldn't be winning. So this is quite interesting as a matchup, but you have to go with Fnatic in this one. Over in the LCS now, we start things off with CLG versus the Golden Guardians. This matchup is probably a bottom of the table clash between these two teams, and in my opinion, I think the Golden Guardians are going to win this one over CLG. In realism, CLG haven't performed at all in the past 2 games they've had. Yes, they did pick up a win, but it's against a team that's considered worse than them now. But it should be an interesting matchup between these two teams. Speaking of one of the teams that CLG beat, they're going up against TSM. It's Immortals versus TSM here to end out Friday's games. This one I've gone with TSM. I don't rate Immortals' squad highly at all because of the decisions they've made. They realistically are going to lose this one after TSM's dominant performance against Dignitas. That matchup is then followed up on Saturday with Team Liquid taking on the 100 Thieves. A good old clash in the top lane between Impact and Sunday. Probably the biggest star on 100 Thieves side, taking on probably the least known member on Team Liquid. But yeah, for this matchup, we're going with Team Liquid. The squad is back, they're dominant, they're looking strong, they're doing great work in the LCS, so we have to go with them. After that grueling battle, we head to a rematch of the semi-finals of the LCS playoffs in spring between TSM and FlyQuest. This should be a very interesting and grueling matchup between these two squads, as in Spring Split they went 1-1 against each other in the regular season. Both teams have a decent start to the LCS this year, and I'm going with TSM over Fly. They won the first matchup last split. I think they'll do it again here. This time, hopefully, in a more interesting fashion with the return of Doublelift. The 5th game that we have to cover is C9 versus Evil Geniuses. This is our Anarchy Analysis match of the week, ladies and gentlemen. One that should be very, very interesting, as both these teams did phenomenal in spring. And this is very interesting because EG are coming in with the same roster, C9 are coming in with the same roster. Actually no, EG's made a change, I forgot. Huni now plays for them. So this should be a very interesting matchup, and one that could potentially see an upset win for Evil Geniuses. However, I've gone with C9. Gotta go with them. They're the strongest team in the league by far. It's going to be interesting to see them face off against Team Liquid, and that will probably be our Anarchy Analysis match of the week for whenever that happens the second time, because there'll be a lot more at stake than if it's in the first half of this split. And the final matchup on the Saturday sees Dignitas versus CLG. This one's an interesting one. It's a bottom of the table matchup. Both teams had a quite a poor first day, or first week entirely, but CLG did manage to pick up a win. This matchup, gotta go with CLG over Dig. Dig just looked poor on the first 2 game days last week, and I honestly think CLG could just destroy him here. Our last set of games now to cover for this week starts off with EG versus Team Liquid. Another big matchup for EG this week. Probably their toughest week by far, and probably the toughest week for anyone this week. For this one, I had to go with EG over Team Liquid. I think this is going to be very explosive and close. It was going to be potentially our Anarchy Analysis match of the week, but we've already covered Team Liquid this split. So I've got to cover a different team versus EG, so why not go with the Giants in C9 versus EG? But yeah, for this one I've gone with EG. They're going to pick up a win here against Team Liquid. Gonna keep this one short and sweet. Fly versus Dig, I've gone with Fly. Fly just a better than Dig. Full stop. Let's keep the short streak going. C9 versus Golden Guardians. Gotta go with C9. You probably know the reason is they're better than GG, and it's quite official considering C9 are your current Spring Split champions. We had 2 short ones in a row. Let's end on a long one for the last matchup of the week. It'll be 100 Thieves versus IMT. This matchup is quite interesting. It's a battle of experience. Soaz versus Afromu versus who else? IMT's players. I don't know them. Ika. I would have said X-Smithy, but he's no longer on the roster. But yeah, this is an interesting matchup. A team's made a lot of changes, like IMT have, whereas 100 Thieves have stayed the same. Same old 100 Thieves, still kicking ass with Sunday in that top lane, and Cody Sun in the bot lane. It's a very interesting matchup. Overall, I think we will see 100 Thieves win, and it'll be a very nice matchup for them to get their season basically up and running. Now, we have finally covered all the matches in week 2, and oh boy, that was a long list of games. Once again, my name has been izlo33. If you've enjoyed this, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new, if you want to, and I will see you guys later. And as well as all that crap, check my Twitter out. I post a lot of interesting things about League, GTA, Pokemon, Animal Crossing. I post a lot of random stuff, and it's very analytical in terms of my League stuff, which is basically this stuff. I talk about my predictions slightly as well. If I have to make predictions on the fly, they go on there. So be sure to check that out, and peace out, my dudes.